the endless void of space, the Elysium, a ship that never touched water, sails into a cosmic nightmare. Captain Elias Thorne and his weary crew face ghosts of a cursed past, time-warping drifts, weeping stars, and portals to the abyss. Each victory scars them deeper as the void whispers their fears and secrets. When a final anchor offers freedom at the cost of their truths, will they break free or become another lost tale in the stars? Chapter 1. The Whispering Void Inn. The deep black of space, where stars twinkled like far-off fireflies, there floated a ship named Elysium. She was no normal vessel. Built long ago in the yards of Earth, her hull gleamed with silver metal that caught the light of distant suns. But Elysium had a secret. She was made to sail the stars, not the seas. Her name meant paradise, yet she brought only whispers of dread. No drop of water had ever touched her sides. She danced through the void, pulled by engines that hummed like lost souls. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the endless night. He was a tall man with a beard as gray as storm clouds. His hands gripped the controls tight, knuckles white. Around him the crew moved like shadows. There was Mira, the young navigator with hair like fire and a smile that hid her fears. Then old Doc Harlan, who fixed broken bones and broken minds, and Jax, the strong engineer whose laugh could shake the walls. The ship had left Earth years back, on a quest to find new worlds. But something went wrong. A storm in space, not of rain but of wild energy, hit them hard. It twisted the stars, and bent time itself. Now Elysium drifted in a place where no maps worked. The void whispered to them. Soft voices that crept into dreams. Elias heard them first. At night, when the lights dimmed, the whispers came. "Turn back," they said. "The water waits." But there was no water in space, only cold, empty dark. He shook his head, thinking it was just his tired mind playing tricks. But soon, others heard too. Mira sat at her station, plotting paths through the stars. Her fingers flew over the keys, but the screens showed nonsense. Lines that looped back on themselves, like snakes eating their tails. "Captain," she called, her voice shaky. "The charts are wrong. It's like the stars moved." Elias walked over, his boots echoing on the metal floor. He looked at the display. Sure enough, the points of light danced in ways they shouldn't. "Must be a glitch," he muttered. But deep down, he knew better. The void was alive. It watched them. That night, as the crew slept, the whispers grew louder. Elias lay in his bunk, staring at the ceiling. The ship creaked, though space had no wind. A soft murmur filled his ears. The ship that never touched water, doomed to float forever. He sat up, sweat on his brow. Was it a dream? Or something more? He slipped out of his room and wandered the halls. The lights flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to move on their own. He reached the engine room where Jax worked late. The big man wiped grease from his hands. "Can't sleep, Cap?" Jax asked. Elias shook his head. "You hear anything strange?" Jax frowned. "Like what?" "Voices, in the walls." Jax laughed, but it sounded forced. "Just the engines, boss. They sing sometimes." But Elias saw the fear in Jax's eyes. They both knew it wasn't the engines. The next day, things got worse. Doc Harlan called a meeting in the mess hall. The crew gathered, faces pale. "I've checked everyone," Doc said. "No sickness. But we're all hearing things. It's the isolation, maybe." Mira spoke up. "It's not just voices. Last night I saw a shadow in my room. It looked like a person, but when I turned on the light, nothing." The crew murmured. Elias stood. "We stay calm. We're explorers. We've faced worse." But inside, doubt gnawed at him. What if the ship was cursed? Built without blessing, never christened with water like old sea ships. Maybe that's why the void claimed her. As days blurred into nights, the whispers turned to stories. They told of lost ships in space, crews that vanished into the dark. One tale spoke of a captain who ignored the signs and led his people to doom. Elias wondered if that was him. Then came the first sighting. Mira screamed from the observation deck. The crew rushed in. Through the wide window they saw it. A faint glow, like a ghost ship trailing them. It shimmered, then faded. What was that? Jax whispered. Elias stared. Nothing good. The void was playing games. It pulled at their minds, showing glimpses of what might be, or what had been. Doc Harlan pulled Elias aside. We need to turn back, Cap, before we lose our wits. But, Elias shook his head. No way home. The storm sealed it. They were trapped. The ship that never touched water, adrift in a sea of stars. The whispers grew bold. They named the crew, called out secrets. Mira heard her dead mother's voice, begging her to come home. Jax heard his brother's laugh, lost in a mining accident years ago. Elias heard his wife's plea. She had died on Earth, but her words echoed. Why did you leave me? He clenched his fists. It's not real, he told himself, but the void laughed. One evening, as the artificial sun set on the ship, they found a message scratched on the wall. Water will claim you. No one admitted to writing it. Panic spread. Crew members argued. Fingers pointed. It's you, one said to another. You're the one whispering. Elias slammed his hand on the table. Enough. We stick together. But the seeds of doubt were sown. In the quiet hours, Elias pored over old logs. The ship was designed for deep space, her frame strong against cosmic rays, but no one thought of the mine's frailty. He remembered the launch day. Crowds cheered as Elysium lifted off. No bottle smashed on her hull, no water to bless her. Superstition, the builders said. Now, Elias wondered. The void pressed in. Stars seemed closer, watching eyes. The ship groaned, as if bending under unseen weight. Mira came to him, tears in her eyes. Captain, I can't take it. The voices say we'll never see home. He hugged her like a daughter. We'll find a way. But hope faded. Then, a breakthrough. Jax burst into the bridge. I fixed the sensors. There's a planet ahead, with water. Excitement rippled through the crew. A world with oceans, maybe life. Elias nodded. Set course. As they approached, the whispers screamed. No, the water is death. But they ignored it. The planet loomed, blue and green. Elysium descended, but something felt wrong. The hull heated. Alarms blared. We're not made for this, Doc yelled. Elias gripped the wheel. Hold on. The ship shook, entering atmosphere. But she was a space bird, not built for landing. Cracks appeared. The void laughed louder. In the chaos, Elias saw the truth. The ship that never touched water was meant to stay in the stars. To land was to die. But it was too late. The ocean rushed up. Elysium skimmed the waves, but never touched. A force held her up, the void's grip. She hovered, trembling. The crew cheered, thinking they were safe. But the whispers said, this is just the start. The void had plans. Dark, cosmic plans. Elias looked out at the water below, so close, yet forever apart. The Gothic horror began. As the ship hovered above the alien sea, waves crashed like angry beasts. The water was not blue like Earth's, but a deep purple, swirling with lights that pulsed like hearts. The crew stared in wonder and fear. Mira pressed her face to the glass. It's beautiful, she whispered, but her voice trembled. Jax checked. The engines. We're stable, Cap, but fuel's low. Can't stay like this forever. Doc Harlan scanned the air. Breathable, but something's off. The readings show life, lots of it, under the water. Elias nodded. We send a probe. They launched a small drone into the waves. It dove deep, sending back images. Strange creatures swam there with tentacles and glowing eyes. Ruins too, old structures like sunken cities. The whispers returned, softer now. The old ones wait. They call you. The crew tried to ignore. Night fell on the planet, stars bright above. The ship rocked gently like on gentle waves. but no water touched her. In his cabin, Elias dreamed. He saw the ship as a young girl, running through fields, but the ground turned to space, and she fell forever. He woke with a start. Mira was at his door. Can't sleep. The voices are back. They talked long into the night. She told of her home, a small town on Earth with rivers and lakes. I miss the water, she said. Elias smiled sadly. This ship never knew it. Maybe that's the curse. The next day, they tried to land again, but the force pushed back. Alarm screamed. Jax cursed. It's like an invisible wall. Doc had an idea. Maybe the planet doesn't want us, or the void does. They scanned the area. A signal came from below, faint but steady. Someone's down there, Mira said. Elias decided. We go in suits. Dive team. Jax, Mira, and 2 others geared up. They dropped from the ship on lines, splashing into the purple water. Elias watched from above, heart pounding. Under the waves, the team swam. The water was warm, alive with currents. Fish-like things darted past. They reached the ruins. Towers of stone, covered in vines that glowed. Inside one, they found a chamber, walls etched with symbols. A voice boomed in their heads. The ship. Above. It must touch, Mira gasped. It's the whispers. They fled back. On the ship, they told the tale. The old ones built this place. They say the ship needs water to be free. Elias frowned. But how? She's not made for it. That night, a storm hit. Winds howled, though the ship floated high. Lightning cracked, illuminating shapes in the clouds, faces twisted and sad. The whispers chanted, touch the water, break the curse. Crew members went mad. One jumped, thinking he could fly to the sea. Doc pulled him back, but the man raved. The void wants our souls. Elias locked himself in the bridge. He studied the logs. Again, found a note from the builders. No water right, may bring bad luck. Superstition, but real now. He called the crew. We must christen her, splash water on the hull. They laughed at first, then nodded. Desperate times. They collected water from the planet in buckets. Outside on the hull, Elias poured it. The liquid hit the metal, sizzling. The ship shook. The force let go. Elysium dropped. Touching water for the first time, waves embraced her. The whispers stopped, but a new voice rose from the deep. Welcome home. The crew cheered, but Elias felt dread. The Gothic tale had just begun. The cosmic horrors awaited below. The water lapped against the hull, gentle at first. The ship bobbed like a cork, her engines quiet. The crew stood on deck, feeling the mist on their faces. It was cool, salty, with a hint of something sweet, like flowers in bloom. Mira laughed, a real laugh for the first time in weeks. We did. She's touched water. Jax clapped her on the back. About time. Now let's explore this rock. Doc cautioned. Easy. We don't know what's down there. Elias stared at the horizon. The sunset, painting the sky in reds and purples. But in the water, shadows moved. Big ones. That night, they anchored, or tried. The ship floated, but chains held her. In dreams, the crew saw visions. Old cities rising from the sea. People, with eyes like stars. They spoke of a war between void and water, ships caught in between. Elias woke to alarms. The ship listed, water seeping in cracks. Leaks! Jax yelled, running to patch. But the water was alive. It crawled up walls, forming shapes, hands, faces. Mira screamed as a watery figure grabbed her ankle. Elias pulled her free. It's the curse. We angered it. The whispers returned, but from below now. You touched. Now pay. The ship groaned. Metal twisting. They fought back, pumping water out, but more came. Doc found a book in the library, old tales of space ghosts. Ships like ours, built dry, attract spirits of the deep. Cosmic spirits, Gothic in their wrath. They sealed the leaks, but the damage was done. The engines sputtered. We need to leave, Elias said, but the water held tight. Storms raged for days. Waves taller than buildings crashed. The crew huddled, sharing. Stories to stay sane. Mira told of her childhood, swimming in lakes. Jack spoke of mines, dark and wet. Elias shared his loss, wife drowned in a flood. The water took her, he said. Now it wants me. The void had sent them here, to face it. Finally the storm broke. The sea calmed. They dove again, to the ruins. There, an altar, a stone with symbols. Offer something, the voices said. Elias offered a lock of hair from his wife. The water released the ship. She lifted, dripping, back to space, but the whispers followed. The journey continues. The ship now touched, changed. Her hull shimmered with new light. The crew, bonded by fear, pressed on, to the next horror. As Elysium rose from the water, drops fell like tears. The planet shrank below, a marble in the black. The crew breathed easy, but Elias knew better. The touch had awakened something. The ship felt heavier, as if carrying the sea inside. In the days that followed, strange things happened. Puddles appeared in halls, though no leaks. They evaporated, leaving salt crystals that sparkled like stars. Mira collected them. Pretty, she said. But when she touched one, visions flashed. Ancient seas on dead worlds. Jacks fixed the engines, but they hummed different. Like they're singing a new song, he said. Doc examined everyone. No harm. But our minds, they're linked now, to the void and the water. Elias nodded. We broke the rule. The ship that never touched water did. Now she's marked. They set course for a star cluster, hoping for answers. The whispers guided, sometimes helpful, sometimes tricks. One night a crewman vanished, found in the hold, staring at a pool of water. It called me, he muttered. They locked him up, but he escaped, jumping into space. His body floated away toward the planet. Grief hit hard. Elias blamed himself. Mira comforted him. We survived together, but doubt grew. The Gothic atmosphere thickened. Shadows lengthened, lights dimmed without reason. Cosmic winds buffeted the ship, carrying dust that formed faces on windows. The voices told stories of other ships, lost in time. Elias listened, learning. The curse was old, from when humans first left Earth. Ships blessed with water sailed safe. Dry ones attracted the void's pets, entities from between stars. Now Elysium was both, touched and untouched. A bridge between, they reached the cluster. Planets circled a red sun. One had ruins too, but in space, floating wrecks. They docked with one, boarding. Inside, skeletons in suits, clutching journals. The water saves and dams. One entry read. Elias shivered. A trap sprung. Doors sealed. Air hissed out. They fought to escape, breaking through. Back on ship, they fled. The whispers laughed. More to come. The chapter ended with them drifting again, the void whispering promises of more dread. Chapter 2. Shadows of the Forgotten Crew. The Elysium sailed through the endless black, her hull still damp from the alien sea. The crew tried to shake off the dread of their first encounter, but the ship felt different now. The air was heavier, the lights dimmer, as if the water's touch had stirred something dark within her walls. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his gray eyes scanning the stars. They twinkled coldly, like they were watching back. The whispers from the void had quieted since the ship touched water, but a new unease crept in, shadows that moved when no one was looking. It started small. Mira, the young navigator with fiery hair, noticed it first. She was charting a course through a nebula when she saw a flicker in the corner of her eye. A shape, tall and thin, stood by the wall. She turned, heart racing, but nothing was there, just the hum of the ship and the glow of her screens. I'm losing it, she muttered, rubbing her eyes. But deep down, she knew it wasn't her imagination. Jax, the burly engineer, saw it next. He was in the engine room, his hands greasy from fixing a fuel line. A shadow crossed the pipes, too quick to be a trick of light. It looked like a man, stooped, with hollow cheeks. Jax dropped his wrench, the clang echoing. "Who's there?" he called. Silence answered. He laughed it off, but his hands shook as he worked. By the third day, everyone had stories. Doc Harlan, the old medic with a face like worn leather, said he saw a figure in the med bay, standing over an empty bed. "Looked like it was waiting for someone," he said, his voice low. The crew gathered in the mess hall, faces pale under the flickering lights. The table was scratched, and someone noticed new marks, letters that spelled, "We see you." No one admitted to carving them. Elias stood, his voice steady despite the knot in his gut. "We're tired, that's all. Space plays tricks on the mind. Stay sharp. Stick together." But his words felt hollow. The ship that never touched water had finally met the sea, and now something was awake. That night, Elias couldn't sleep. He lay in his bunk, the ship's hum like a heartbeat. Then he heard it, a soft shuffle, like boots on metal. He sat up, grabbing his light. The beam swept his small cabin, finding nothing but his desk and a mirror. In the glass, he saw it. A man's face, not his own. Hollow eyes, a mouth open in a silent scream. Elias stumbled back, heart pounding. "Who are you?" he whispered. The mirror answered, voice like dry leaves. "We were the first." He blinked, and the face was gone. Just his own reflection, tired and scared. He didn't tell the crew. Not yet. The next morning, Mira came to him, her eyes wide. "Captain, I saw a girl, in the hall by my room. She wore an old uniform, like from 100 years ago. She smiled, then vanished." Mira's voice shook, but she stood tall. She didn't feel bad, just sad. Elias nodded, hiding his own fear. "Keep it quiet for now. Don't spook the others." But the shadows grew bolder. They appeared in broad light, slipping between machines or standing at the edge of sight. Always gone when looked at straight. The crew whispered among themselves, tempers short. One man, a quiet cook named Taz, swore a shadow touched his arm, cold as ice. He showed a mark, red like a burn, shaped like a hand. Doc Harlan called a meeting. "These ain't hallucinations," he said, holding up Taz's arm. "Something's here. Maybe ghosts, maybe worse." Jax snorted. "Ghosts? Come on, Doc. We're in space, not a haunted house." But Doc's eyes were grim. "Space has its own ghosts. Old crews, lost ships. The void keeps them." Elias listened, remembering the face in his mirror. "If they're ghosts, what do they want?" Mira spoke up. "The girl I saw, she pointed to a wall, like she wanted me to follow." Against his better judgment, Elias agreed. "Show us." Mira led them to a narrow hall near the ship's core. The wall was plain, just metal panels, but when she pressed it, a click sounded. A hidden door slid open, revealing a small room. Dust floated in the air, untouched for years. Inside were crates, old and rusted. Mira pried one open. Gems spilled out, glowing like tiny stars, blue, red, green. Another crate held books, their pages yellow, but filled with star maps and strange writing. "Treasure," Jax breathed, picking up a gem. It pulsed in his hand, warm. Doc frowned. "This ain't right. Hidden like this? It's from another crew, one that didn't make it." That night, the shadows grew angry. Lights flickered, machines sparked. In the engine room, Jax screamed. The crew found him on the floor, eyes wild. "It wasn't me," he shouted. His hands were black with grease, but he'd smashed a control panel. "Something took me over, made me do it." Elias grabbed his shoulders. "Fight it, Jax. Tell us what happened." Jax's voice dropped. "It was a man, tall, with no eyes. He said the ship's ours now. They want it back." Mira gasped. "The first crew, the ones who built her." Doc nodded. "Elysium was the first of her kind. Launched without water, no blessing. The logs say her crew vanished on the maiden trip, no trace." Elias felt cold. "So they're still here, trapped." The shadows attacked again that night. Crew members woke to hands on their throats, cold and tight. Mira saw the girl again, who whispered, "Salt stops them." She told Elias, who remembered old tales, salt for spirits, to keep them at bay. They used the salt crystals left from the alien water, still scattered in the halls. Sprinkled in circles, it glowed faintly. The shadows hissed, retreating. Jax, still shaken, helped spread it, muttering apologies to the air. But one shadow lingered, stronger than the rest. It stood on the bridge, a man in an old captain's coat. Elias faced it alone, his light shaking. "What do you want?" he demanded. The shadow's voice was a growl. "The ship, our home. You touched water, woke us." Elias stood firm. "This is our ship now. Leave us." The shadow laughed, fading. "We never leave." The crew worked fast, repairing the damage Jax caused. The engines hummed again, but the air stayed thick with fear. Mira found more in the hidden room, a journal, half-burned. It told of the first crew, betrayed by their captain. He'd made a deal with the Void, trading their souls for power. But the Void tricked him, locking them in the ship forever. Elias read it aloud to the crew. "They're angry, want us gone, but we're stronger." Mira clutched a gem from the crates. "The girl helped me. Not all of them hate us." They decided to honor the old crew. In the mess hall, they set out a plate of food, a cup of water from the planet. "For you," Elias said. "Rest now." The shadows quieted. Lights steadied. But as the ship sailed on, one shadow remained, watching from the dark. It wore the old captain's coat, its hollow eyes fixed on Elias. The Gothic chill settled. Deeper. The cosmic unknown loomed ahead. Chapter 3. The eternal drift. The Elysium drifted through the endless black, her engines quiet, her hull still haunted by the shadows of the forgotten crew. The salt circles had pushed the ghosts back, but the air felt wrong, heavy with a stillness that pressed on the chest. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his hands tight on the railing. The stars outside spun slowly, like a carousel stuck in time. The ship wasn't moving forward anymore, just floating, caught in a cosmic tide that pulled nowhere. Mira, the young navigator, sat at her station, her fingers hovering over the controls. Her red hair fell over her eyes as she frowned at the screens. "Captain," she said, voice small, "the engines are fine, but we're not going anywhere. It's like space itself is stuck." Elias looked at the star charts. The points of light blurred, lines looping into knots. "Jax," he called to the engineer over the comms. "What's the status down there?" Jax's voice crackled back. "Rough but steady. Engines are humming, Cap. Fuel's good, but the ship's not responding. It's like we're caught in molasses." Doc Harlan, wiping his glasses, joined them on the bridge. "I've seen this in old logs," he said. "Space drifts, pockets where time and motion slow, like a trap." The crew gathered, faces pale under the dim lights. The mess hall's scratched table still bore the words, "We see you," from the shadows. Now, new marks appeared, faint lines, like scratches of time itself. Elias traced them with his finger. They felt cold. "We're not trapped," he said, trying to sound sure. "We'll find a way out," but doubt gnawed at him. The ship that never touched water had broken its curse by meeting the alien sea, only to awaken new horrors. The shadows were quiet, but something else was here, a force that bent time, stretching days into years. That night, the crew slept fitfully. Dreams came, vivid and cruel. Mira saw herself old, her hair gray, still sitting at her station, plotting courses to nowhere. Jax dreamed of being a boy again, trapped in a mine, the walls closing in forever. Elias saw his wife, her face pale, as she sank into dark water, whispering, "You'll drift with me." Morning brought no relief. The ship's clock showed hours passing, but the stars outside stayed fixed. Mira checked the logs. "It's been 3 days," she said, "but it feels like weeks." Doc nodded. "Time's playing tricks. Our minds are aging faster than our bodies." The crew's eyes grew hollow. Taz, the cook, forgot simple recipes, muttering about meals he'd made years ago. Another crewman, Lila, stared at her hands, swearing they looked older, wrinkled. Panic crept in, voices rising in the mess hall. "We're gonna die here, stuck," Taz shouted. Elias slammed his fist on the table. "Enough! We're explorers. We've faced ghosts. We'll beat this." But his own heart raced. He felt older, too, his joints aching, memories of Earth fading like old photos. The Gothic weight of the ship pressed harder, the cosmic void laughing in silence. Mira found a clue in the hidden room from the first crew. Among the glowing gems and old books, she dug out a metal box. Inside was a device, small and round, with dials and a faint hum. Words etched on it read, "Time Anchor." She brought it to Elias. "Maybe this can help," she said, hope flickering in her green eyes. Doc studied it, his hands shaking. "This is old tech, meant to stabilize ships in time storms. If we're in a drift, this could pull us out." Jax, wiping grease from his face, took the device. "Looks like it needs power. I can hook it to the engines, but it'll take a day." "Do it," Elias said, "and fast." As Jax worked, the drift worsened. Crew members saw visions, past selves walking the halls, younger, happier. Mira saw herself as a girl, splashing, in a river, laughing. She reached for the memory, but it dissolved, leaving her sobbing. Elias saw his wife again, not drowning but standing on the bridge, her dress dripping. "Why do you fight?" she asked. "The drift is home." He shook his head. "You're not real." But her smile cut deep. The ship groaned, metal creaking as if tired. Lights flickered, casting long shadows, not ghosts, but echoes of the crew, their own faces staring back. Lila screamed, pointing at her shadow. It moved before she did, waving when she stood still. Doc tried to calm her. "It's the drift. Time's breaking us apart." Elias called a meeting. "We stay strong. Jax is working on the anchor. We hold on." But holding on was hard. Food tasted bland, water like ash. Sleep brought no rest, only more dreams. Elias found a note in his cabin, in his own handwriting. "Don't trust the stars." He didn't remember writing it. Jax worked through the night, his big hands steady despite the fear in his eyes. He wired the time anchor to the engines, sparks flying. "This better work," he muttered. Mira helped, reading from the old books. "It says the anchor needs a spark, something to jolt time back." "Like what?" Jax asked. She hesitated. "Something alive, a piece of us," Elias overheard. "No one sacrificing anything." But Mira shook her head. "Not like that, just a drop of blood, to tie us to the ship." The crew argued. Some called it madness, others a chance. Elias made the call. "We try it. Together." They gathered in the engine room, the anchor glowing faintly. Each crew member pricked a finger, letting a drop fall onto the device. The hum grew louder, the ship shaking. Lights flared, then dimmed. Outside, the stars twitched, like a film skipping. The ship lurched, engines roaring to life. "We're moving," Mira shouted, checking her screens. The drift broke. Stars streaked past, time snapping back. The crew cheered, hugging, tears in their eyes. Elias felt lighter, his memory sharp again. But as they sailed on, a new sound came, a low hum, not from the engines. The time anchor pulsed, its glow unsteady. Doc frowned. "We woke it, but it's not happy." That night, Elias stood alone, on the bridge. The stars were normal, but one shone brighter, red and angry. He felt it watching. In his bunk, he dreamed again. The ship was a woman, old and tired, drifting forever. "You broke the drift," she said, "but time never forgets." He woke to Mira's scream. She stood in the hall, pointing at the floor. New scratches, fresh and deep. "You can't escape." The Gothic dread clung to the ship, the cosmic trap still waiting. The eternal drift was over, but its scars remained, etched in metal and minds. Chapter 4. Stars That Weep. The Elysium sailed free from the eternal drift, her engines humming with new life after the time anchor's jolt. The stars outside gleamed sharp again, no longer stuck in their eerie spin. But the crew's relief was thin, like a cracked window holding back a storm. The ship that never touched water had faced ghosts and time traps, but the void had more to give. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his gray beard catching the dim light. His hands gripped the railing, eyes fixed on a cluster of stars ahead. They pulsed, brighter than they should, like heartbeats in the dark. Mira, the young navigator, plotted their course, her fingers trembling over the controls. "Captain," she said, voice soft, "these stars are weird. They're moving, like they're crying." Elias frowned, peering at her screen. The star charts showed streaks of light trailing from the cluster like tears falling across the black. "Jax, you seeing this in the engine room?" he called over the comms. Jax's voice came back, gruff but uneasy. "Yeah, Cap. Sensors picking up something, not just light, ice maybe, coming right at us." Doc Harlan, wiping sweat from his brow, joined them. "Ice in space? That's no good. Meteors maybe, but this feels alive." The crew gathered, faces tight with worry. The mess hall's scratched table still bore the marks of "We see you, and you can't escape" from before. Now, new scratches appeared, faint but chilling. Tears fall. No one spoke of them, but eyes darted to the words. Elias kept his voice steady. "We've faced worse. Chart a path around, Mira." She tried, but the screens flickered, lines twisting. "It's like the stars are pulling us in," she whispered. Before anyone could answer, the first impact hit. A soft thud, then another. The ship shook, lights dimming. Through the observation window, they saw it. Glowing specks, like frozen tears, striking the hull. Each hit left a mark, not dense, but frost that spread like spiderwebs. Jax ran to the engine room, cursing. "They're sticking! Freezing the vents!" Elias followed, boots pounding on the metal floor. The air grew cold, breath puffing in clouds. The frost crept inside, coating walls, sparkling like tiny stars. Mira touched it, then yanked her hand back. "It's not just ice," she said. "It's showing me things." "What things?" Elias asked, his heart sinking. "Death," she whispered. "Mine, yours, all of us." The crew huddled, fear spreading like the frost. Taz, the cook, saw his own face in the ice, eyes closed, lifeless. Lila, another crewman, screamed as the frost formed her family, waving goodbye forever. Elias saw his wife, her face pale, sinking into dark water again. "No," he muttered, shaking his head. "Not real." But the tears kept falling. The ship groaned, her hull creaking under the cold. Alarms blared, systems failing, engines slowing. Jax worked fast, heating the vents, but the ice was stubborn, melting only to refreeze stronger. Doc pulled Elias aside. "This ain't natural. The void's sending these tears. They're memories, maybe, or warnings." "Of what?" Elias asked. Doc's eyes were grim. "The end." That night the crew barely slept. The frost crept into dreams, showing futures no one wanted. Mira saw the ship breaking apart, stars swallowing her. Jax saw himself trapped in ice, unable to move. Elias dreamed of the ship as a woman, her eyes weeping frozen tears that burned his skin. Morning brought no warmth. The stars outside glowed brighter, their tears falling faster. The ship was coated, a glittering tomb. Mira checked the sensors. "They're not just ice," she said. "They've got energy, like they're alive." Elias called a meeting in the mess hall. The air was so cold they wore jackets, breath fogging. "We need to stop this," he said. "Ideas?" Jax raised a hand. "Heat. We blast the hull with the engine's exhaust. Melt it all." Doc shook his head. "That could crack the hull. Too risky." Mira clutched the time anchor from the last chapter, still glowing faintly. "Maybe this can help." It broke. The drift. Could it burn the ice? They agreed to try. Jax wired the anchor to the ship's power grid, its hum growing loud. The crew gathered outside the engine room, watching as he flipped the switch. The anchor flared, sending a pulse through the ship. The frost hissed, melting into puddles that glowed blue, then vanished. The stars outside dimmed, their tears slowing. The crew cheered, clapping Jax on the back. But Elias noticed something. Mira's eyes were wet, like she'd been crying. "You okay?" he asked. She nodded, but her voice was small. "I saw it again, the ship breaking, even when the ice melted." Elias hugged her, feeling like a father. "We'll change that future." But the puddles left behind didn't evaporate. They pooled in corners, forming shapes, faces, hands, eyes. The crew avoided them, but the shapes moved, following. That night a new sound came, a soft weeping, not from the crew but the ship itself. Elias walked the halls, his light catching glints of frost that shouldn't be there. In the engine room, he found Jack staring at a puddle. It showed his brother, lost years ago in a mine. "He's calling me," Jack said, voice breaking. Elias pulled him away. "It's a trick. The void's playing with us." But Jack's eyes were distant. What if it's real? The next day, they found a way to fight back. Doc remembered an old trick from Earth, mirrors to reflect bad spirits. They polished spare panels, setting them around the ship. The puddles hissed when light hit them, shrinking. The weeping quieted. Mira found another clue in the hidden room. A book from the first crew spoke of weeping stars, a cosmic storm that trapped ships in grief. To escape, it read, face the heart. "What's the heart?" Taz asked, his hands shaking. "The star cluster," Elias said. "We go through, not around." The crew protested, fear loud in their voices, but Elias stood firm. "We've run too long. Time to face it." They set course, the ship trembling as it neared the cluster. The stars pulsed, their tears now a torrent. The hull groaned, frost forming again. But the mirrors held, reflecting the light back. Inside the cluster, they saw it, a massive star, red and throbbing like a wound in space. The tears came from it, each one a memory of lost ships, lost souls. The crew shielded their eyes, the light burning. Elias steered straight for it. "Hold on!" he shouted. The ship shook, alarms screaming. The mirrors glowed, reflecting the star's light. The frost melted, puddles evaporating. The weeping stopped. They passed through the star behind them. The cluster faded, stars normal again. The ship was clear, her hull shining. But one tear remained, stuck to the observation window. It showed a vision, the Elysium breaking apart, the crew floating in the void. Mira gasped. "It's still coming." Elias stared at the tear, his heart heavy. "Then we keep fighting." The crew nodded, bonded by fear and hope. The Gothic chill lingered, the cosmic dread deeper. The stars had wept, but the ship sailed on, scarred but strong. The scratches on the mess hall table now read, "You saw, U.S." The void was watching, waiting for the next trap. Chapter 5. The captain's curse, the Elysium glided through the void, her hull scarred from the weeping stars. The crew's faces were etched with exhaustion, their eyes hollow from battles with ghosts, time drifts, and cosmic tears. The ship that never touched water had faced the alien sea, broken a timeless trap, and burned away the frost of morning stars. Yet the air aboard felt heavier than ever, as if the void itself clung to the metal walls. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his gray beard flecked with frost that never fully melted. The stars outside were calm, but a single red one pulsed faintly, like a warning heartbeat. Mira, the young navigator, sat at her station, her red hair tied back, hands steady despite the fear in her green eyes. "Captain," she said, voice low, "the charts are clear now, but I feel watched." Elias nodded, his gut twisting. The ship's scratches, messages like, "We see you and you saw us," still haunted the mess hall table. New ones appeared overnight. "Curse follows." He hadn't told the crew yet, but he felt it too, a shadow on his shoulders, heavier than the void's gaze. Jax, the engineer, called from the engine room. "Cap, engines are good, but something's off. They're humming wrong, like they're scared." Doc Harlan, cleaning his glasses, joined them. "I found something in the old logs," he said, holding a dusty tablet. "The first captain of Elysium, Jonah Thorne. Your kin, Elias. He made a deal with something out here. The void gave him power, but cursed his line. Every Thorne captain. Sails doomed. Elias froze. His father had been a captain, lost in a wreck. His grandfather, too, vanished in deep space. He'd thought it bad luck. Now, the word curse sank into him like cold water. What kind of deal? He asked. Doc's voice was grim. Jonah wanted to conquer the stars. The void promised safe passage, but at a price. His crew's souls, and every Thorne after. Him. The ship never touching water? That was part of it. A dry ship draws the void's eyes. The crew gathered in the mess hall, the air thick with dread. Elias told them the truth, his voice steady but heavy. My family's cursed. It's why we're trapped in these horrors. The ghosts, the drift, the tears. It's all tied to me. Mira stepped forward, her face fierce. You're our captain. Curse or not, we trust you. Jax nodded, though his hands shook. We've beat worse. Let's break this too. But that night, the curse struck hard. Elias woke to a scream. Mira's. He ran to her cabin, finding her on the floor, pale and sweating. Her eyes were wide, pupils like pinpricks. It's in me, she gasped. The curse. It jumped. Doc rushed in, scanning her with his med kit. Her heart's racing, blood pressure's wild. It's like something's gripping her. Elias knelt beside her, his own heart pounding. Fight it, Mira. You're stronger than this. She clutched his hand, nails digging in. I saw him, Jonah, your ancestor. He said the ship's his. Always will be. The lights flickered, the ship groaning like a wounded beast. Shadows danced. Not the ghosts from before, but something older, darker. A figure formed in the corner, a man in an ancient captain's coat, his face like Elias's but twisted, eyes black as the void. Thorne blood, it hissed. You woke me. Now pay. Elias stood, shielding Mira. Leave her. This is my fight. The figure laughed, a sound like breaking glass. The curse takes all. The ship shook, systems failing. Alarms blared, lights dimmed to red. Jax's voice crackled over the comms. Cap, engines are stalling. Something's draining them. Elias ran to the bridge, the shadow trailing like smoke. The crew scrambled, fear thick in the air. Taz, the cook, dropped a tray, muttering prayers. Lila, another crewman, stared at the walls, where frost from the last chapter reappeared, forming words. Thorne falls. Doc stayed with Mira, giving her medicine to slow her heart. It's not just her, he said. The curse is spreading. I feel it too. Cold, like death's hand. Elias searched the hidden room from the first crew, desperate for answers. Among the gems and books he found a relic, a small iron medallion etched with a ship and a single word, redemption. It burned his hand, but he held tight. The Mia journal from Chapter 2 mentioned it. Jonah's token, his deal with the void. Break it, break the curse. He showed it to the crew. This is it, he said. We destroy it. Jax frowned. How? It's solid iron. Mira, weak but sitting up, whispered, the water, the alien sea. It broke the first curse when we touched it. Maybe it can break this. The idea was mad, but they had no choice. The ship was dying, systems flickering like a failing heart. The red star outside pulsed faster, as if calling the curse home. They set course back to the planet from Chapter 1, its purple oceans glowing below. The shadow of Jonah Thorne grew stronger, his voice echoing in their heads. You can't escape. The void owns you. Mira worsened, her skin cold, her breath shallow. Doc stayed by her, his own hands trembling. She's slipping, Elias. We're running out of time. The ship reached the planet, hovering above the waves. The curse fought back, shaking the hull, cracking windows. Elias held the medallion, its heat searing his palm. We need to do this now, he said. The crew rigged a basket, lowering Elias and the medallion toward the water. Jax worked the controls, his face set. Don't die, Cap. Mira, carried by Doc, watched from the deck. Break it, she whispered. Elias reached the waves, the water alive with lights. He held the medallion out, ready to drop it. The shadow of Jonah appeared, towering over the sea. "You'll doom them all," it roared. Elias hesitated, his wife's face flashing in his mind. Her drowning, her plea. "No," he said. "This ends now." He dropped the medallion. It hit the water, sinking fast. The sea boiled, lights flaring. The ship shook, alarm screaming. Jonah's shadow screamed too, dissolving into mist. Mira gasped, color returning to her face. The lights steadied, engines roaring back. The frost on the walls melted, the words, "Thorne falls," gone. The crew pulled Elias up, cheering. He collapsed on the deck, soaked but alive. Mira hugged him, tears in her eyes. "You did it." But Elias felt no victory. The red star still pulsed outside, dim but watching. The journal had warned, breaking the curse frees the ship, but the void never forgets. That night, new scratches appeared in the mess hall, freed but marked. The crew stared, silent. Elias touched the words, his fingers cold. The Gothic dread clung like damp air, the cosmic void whispering promises of more. They sailed on, the ship stronger but scarred. Mira recovered, plotting a new course. Jax fixed the engines, his laugh returning. Doc wrote in his log, "The curse is broken, but we're not free." Elias stood alone on the bridge, the medallion's burn still stinging his hand. He saw his reflection in the window, but for a moment, it wasn't his face. It was Jonah's, smiling. The ship that never touched water had faced its captain's curse, but the stars held more secrets, darker than before. Chapter 6. Nebulae. Of Nightmares. The Elysium sailed away from the purple planet, her hull gleaming under the faint glow of distant stars. The curse of Captain Elias Thorne's bloodline was broken. The iron medallion sunk into the alien sea, but the ship felt no lighter. The void's weight clung to her, a shadow that lingered in the crew's tired eyes. The scratches on the mess hall table now read, "Freed but marked," a warning that kept hearts uneasy. Elias stood on the bridge, his gray beard streaked with sweat, his burned hand still stinging from the medallion. The red star from the last chapter pulsed faintly behind them, a reminder of the void's watchful gaze. Mira, the young navigator, plotted a new course, her red hair falling over her face as she worked. "Captain," she said, her voice steady, but thin, "there's a nebula ahead, big one. Sensors say it's moving, like it's alive." Elias peered at her screen. The nebula swirled, a cloud of purple and green gas, sparkling with flecks of light. It pulsed, slow and rhythmic, like a sleeping giant's breath. "Can we go around?" he asked. Mira shook her head. "It's too wide. And the charts are fuzzy again. It's like the nebula's pulling us in." Jax's voice crackled over the comms from the engine room. "Engines are fine, Cap, but they're straining. Something's tugging us hard." Doc Harlan, his glasses, fogged with worry, joined them. "I read about this in the old logs," he said. "Nebulae like this, some call them dream clouds. They mess with your head, bring fears to life." The crew gathered in the mess hall, the air thick with dread. The table's scratches seemed to glow under the dim lights. Elias spoke, his voice firm despite the knot in his gut. "We've faced ghosts, time traps, and curses. We'll face this too. Stay sharp." But as the ship entered the nebula, the air changed. It felt heavy, like breathing fog. The lights dimmed, casting the halls in a sickly green glow. The crew's steps echoed louder, each sound sharp and wrong. Then the nightmares began. Mira was first. She sat at her station when the screens flickered, showing not stars but her childhood home, burning. Her mother stood in the flames, screaming her name. Mira gasped, tears streaming. "It's not real," she whispered, shutting her eyes. But the image stayed, searing her mind. Jack saw his brother, lost in a mine collapse years ago. The big engineer was fixing a pipe when the walls seemed to close in, dirt falling, his brother's voice begging. "Why didn't you save me?" Jax dropped his tools, hands shaking, his laugh gone. Elias saw his wife, always her, drowning in dark water. But this time she reached for him, her cold fingers brushing his face. "You left me," she said, her voice a knife. He stumbled back, heart pounding, knowing it was a dream but feeling the cut. The crew gathered, faces pale, voices trembling. Taz, the cook, babbled about a monster from his village tales, a beast with too many eyes. Lila saw her sister, dead from sickness, standing in the hall, coughing blood. The ship groaned, metal twisting as if sharing their fear. Doc clutched his tablet, reading from the first crew's journal. "The nebula feeds on fear," he said. "It takes what's in your head and makes it real. We have to fight it." "How?" Mira asked, wiping her eyes. "Face the fear," Doc said. "Look at it, name it, and it loses power." Elias nodded, though his own fear, his wife's accusing eyes, clawed at him. "We do this together. No one's alone." But the nightmares grew bolder. In the engine room, Jax saw the walls turn to stone, trapping him in a mine. He swung his wrench, screaming, hitting nothing but air. Mira's station showed her mother's face, over and over, until she unplugged the screen, sobbing. Elias walked the halls, seeing his wife in every shadow, her voice echoing, "You'll join me." The ship shook, systems failing. Alarms blared, lights flashing green and purple. The nebula's gas seeped through cracks, not air but something alive, curling like fingers. It touched the crew, sparking visions. Taz saw his monster, its eyes glowing, chasing him down the hall. He tripped, screaming, until Lila pulled him to safety. Elias called a meeting, his voice hoarse. "We can't run. The nebula's in our heads. We face it, like Doc said." Mira stood, her face set. "I'll go first. My mother's gone. I know that. The fire wasn't my fault." She closed her eyes, breathing deep. The air around her shimmered, her mother's image fading. The crew gasped, hope flickering. Jax went next, his voice shaking. "My brother died. I couldn't save him, but I'm here and I'm fighting." His mind vision crumbled, the walls solid metal again. One by one, the crew faced their fears. Lila spoke of her sister, Taz of his monster. The visions weakened, the gas retreating. But Elias hesitated. His wife's face was too real, her pain too heavy. The nebula fought back. The ship lurched, a new vision forming. A beast, born of all their fears. It was massive, with Mira's mother's eyes, Jax's brother's hands, and Elias's wife's voice. It roared, shaking the hull, its claws scraping metal. "Together!" Elias shouted. He stepped forward, facing the beast. "My wife drowned. I couldn't save her. But I won't let you take my crew." The beast lunged, but the crew stood with him, shouting their fears. Mira named her fire, Jax his mine, Lila her sister. The beast shrank, its form breaking apart. The gas cleared, the lights steadying. But the nebula had one last trick. At its core, a black heart pulsed, visible through the observation window. It was no star but a void, sucking in light. The ship was pulled toward it, engines screaming. Mira checked her charts. "It's the heart of the nebula. If we don't break free, it'll trap us forever." Jax ran to the engine room, boosting. "Power. We need a push. Something big." Elias remembered the time anchor from Chapter 3. "Use it," he said. "It broke the drift. It can break this." Jax wired the anchor, its glow flaring. The crew pricked their fingers again, drops of blood fueling the device. It hummed, sending a pulse through the ship. The heart pulsed back, angry, but the Elysium surged forward, breaking free. The nebula faded behind, its green glow dimming. The crew cheered, exhausted but alive. The ship's halls were clear, no gas, no visions. But the mess hall table bore new scratches. "Fear lives." Mira touched them, her hand trembling. "It's not over, is it?" Elias shook his head. "The void doesn't forget." That night, he stood on the bridge, the red star still watching. In his dreams, the nebula returned, but now it was his wife's face, her eyes black as the heart. "You faced me," she whispered, "but I'm still here." The crew slept. their fears quieter but not gone. The ship sailed on, her hull marked by the Nebula's touch. The Gothic dread hung heavy, the cosmic horror waiting in the stars ahead. Chapter 7. The Ghostly Engines. The Elysium pushed through the void, her hull still trembling from the Nebula's nightmares. The crew was weary, their faces carved with lines from facing fears that clawed at their hearts. The ship that never touched water had broken curses, escaped time traps, and burned through weeping stars and dream clouds. But each victory left scars. The mess hall table bore fresh scratches, fear lives, a reminder that the void never let go. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his gray beard dusted with frost from battles past, his burned hand aching. The stars outside were steady, but a faint hum from the ship's core felt wrong, like a heartbeat skipping. Mira, the young navigator, checked her charts, her red hair tucked behind her ears. "Captain," she said, her voice tight, "we're on course, but the engines, they're acting strange, like they're fighting us." Elias frowned, his eyes on the control panel. Lights flickered, gauges jumping. "Jax, what's happening down there?" he called over the comms. Jax's voice crackled back, rough and worried. "Cap, the engines are running hot. They're turning on and off by themselves. I didn't touch a thing." Doc Harlan shuffled onto the bridge, his glasses slipping down his nose. "I found something in the first crew's logs," he said, clutching a worn tablet. "The engines were built with tech nobody understood, something from the void. They called it spirit-driven. Said it made the ship alive." Elias's gut twisted. A living ship? The idea was mad, but after ghosts and curses, he believed anything. "Alive how?" he asked. Doc's eyes were grim. "The engines think, feel, and they don't always like their masters." The crew gathered in the mess hall, the air cold, despite the heaters. The table's scratches glowed faintly under the lights, the words, "Fear lives," staring up like accusing eyes. Elias told them what Doc found, his voice steady but heavy. "The engines might be fighting us. We need to check them, now." Jax led the way to the engine room, his big frame tense. The air grew thick, the hum loud and wrong, like a song out of tune. The engines, massive towers of metal and wire, glowed with a sickly blue light. Pipes hissed, steam curling like ghosts. Jax checked the controls, his hands shaking. "They're running full power, but I didn't set them that way." Mira touched a pipe, then yanked her hand back. "It's hot," and it moved, like it pulsed. Elias saw it too, a ripple in the metal, like a heartbeat. The ship groaned, the floor tilting. Alarms blared, red lights flashing. The Elysium lurched, speeding up, stars streaking past the windows. "We're heading somewhere," Mira said, running to her station. Her screen showed a course, uncharted, toward a dark patch of space. "I didn't set this," Jax cursed, slamming a wrench against a panel. "It's the engines. They're driving themselves." Doc clutched his tablet, reading fast. "The logs say the first crew fought this too. The engines wanted to go home, to the void. They had to talk to them." "Talk?" Jax snapped. "They're machines." But Elias remembered the ship. In his dreams, a woman tired and sad. "Maybe they're more," he said. "Jax, open the core. Let's see what's inside." Jax hesitated, then nodded. He pried open a panel, revealing the engine's heart, a glowing orb, pulsing blue, like a trapped star. It hummed louder, the sound a mix of song and scream. Shadows moved inside it, not reflections but figures, twisting. Mira gasped. "It's like the ghosts from before." The first crew. The ship shook, speeding faster. The dark patch loomed. Closer, a void within the void, swallowing light. Elias felt it pulling, not just the ship but his mind, whispering, "Come home." He faced the orb, his voice firm. "You're our ship. We need you to stop." The hum grew angry, the orb flaring. A shadow stepped out, not a ghost but a machine, metal limbs and glowing eyes. It spoke, voice like grinding gears. "We serve the void. You woke us with water. Now we return." Elias's heart raced. The ship that never touched water had stirred something ancient when it met the sea. "You're Elysium," he said. "You carry us, not the void." The machine lunged, its claw grazing Jax's arm. He yelled, blood dripping. Mira grabbed a pipe, swinging, but it passed through the thing like smoke. The ship tilted again, alarms screaming. Doc shouted, "The logs! Say to bind it. Use something alive." Mira remembered the salt from Chapter 2, still scattered in the halls. Salt stopped the ghosts. Maybe it works here. They ran, grabbing handfuls of the glowing crystals left from the alien water. The machine followed, its steps shaking the floor. In the engine room, they threw salt at the orb. It hissed, the blue light dimming. The machine froze, then crumbled, its pieces dissolving, but the engines roared louder, the ship speeding toward the dark patch. Elias saw visions in the orb, his wife drowning, her eyes pleading. "You can't stop us," she said, but it wasn't her voice. It was the void's. Jax, clutching his bleeding arm, worked fast. "I can shut the engines down, but it'll strand us." "Do it," Elias said. "We'll find another way." Jax flipped switches, cutting power. The hum died, the orb going dark. The ship slowed, drifting just outside the dark patch. Stars reappeared, faint but steady. The crew collapsed, panting. Mira checked her screens. "We're safe. For now." Doc bandaged Jax's arm, his hands shaking. That thing wasn't just a machine. It was the ship's soul, tied to the void. Elias nodded, his burned hand throbbing. "We woke it with the water. Now it wants to go back." That night, the crew slept in shifts, watching the engines. The orb stayed dark, but faint. Scratches sounded in the walls. In the mess hall, new words appeared on the table. "We drive on." Mira touched them, her face pale. "They're not done." Elias stood alone in the engine room, staring at the orb. He saw his reflection, but it flickered, showing the machine's face, then his wife's, then Jonah Thorne's from Chapter 5. "You're mine," he whispered to the ship. "Not theirs." The ship was quiet, but the hum returned, soft and sly. The crew rigged a backup engine, one not tied to the orb, but it was weak, barely moving them. They drifted, the dark patch still close, its pull like a cold hand. Jax, his arm bandaged, worked through the night, his laugh gone. "I can feel it," he said. "The engines hate me." Mira found a note in the hidden room, tucked in a book. It read, "The spirit engines need a heart. Give it one, or it takes yours." She showed Elias, her eyes wide. "What's that mean?" He didn't know, but the idea chilled him. The ship felt alive, angry, a Gothic beast in a cosmic cage. They tried a ritual, like with the medallion in Chapter 5. Elias offered a drop of his blood to the orb, hoping to bind it. The hum softened, the ship steadying, but the dark patch pulsed, calling. The crew saw it in dreams, a hole where ships vanished, their souls fuel for the void. Elias saw his wife there, waving, her smile sad. "We keep going," he told the crew, his voice hoarse. "We don't let it win." They sailed on, the backup engine sputtering. The orb stayed dark, but scratches echoed like claws in the walls. The table's new scratches read, "Heart or void." The crew huddled, bonded by fear. The Gothic dread grew, the cosmic horror closer. The engines were tamed, but their spirit lingered, waiting to strike. Chapter 8. Portals to the Abyss. The Elysium limped through the void, her backup engine wheezing like an old man's breath. The ghostly engines from the last chapter were silenced, their glowing orb dim, but the ship felt unsteady, as if she resented the crew for taming her. The mess hall table bore fresh scratches, heart or void, etched deep, a warning that chilled the air. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his gray beard flecked with dust, his burned hand throbbing. The stars outside were sparse, but a dark patch loomed ahead, the same one from Chapter 7, a hole in space that swallowed light. It pulsed, slow and hungry, like a beast waiting to feed. Mira, the young navigator, hunched over her station, her red hair damp with sweat. "Captain," she said, voice shaking, The charts are dead. That dark patch, it's pulling us in, like a magnet. Elias checked her screen. The display flickered, showing not stars but a swirling void, blacker than night, with faint rings of light spiraling inward. "Jax, how's the engine holding?" he called over the comms. Jax's voice came rough, his arm still bandaged from the engine's claw. "Barely, Cap. The backup's weak. Whatever's out there, it's stronger than us." Doc Harlan shuffled in, his glasses fogged. He clutched the first crew's journal, its pages brittle. "This patch," he said, "it's in the logs. They called it an abyss gate, a portal to nowhere. Ships go in, don't come out." Elias's gut twisted. The ship that never touched water had faced ghosts, curses, and nightmares. But this felt different, final. "Can we steer clear?" he asked. Mira shook her head. "It's too late. We're caught." The ship shuddered, lights dimming to a sickly purple. A low hum filled the air, not from the engines but from outside, like a song from the dark. The crew gathered in the mess hall, faces pale under the flickering lights. The table's scratches seemed to pulse, the words "heart" or "void" glowing faintly. New marks appeared beside them. "Step through." Elias spoke, his voice steady despite the fear clawing his chest. "We've fought before. We'll fight this. Mira, find a way to break the pull. Jax, boost the engine." But as they moved to their posts, the hum grew louder, shaking the hull. The observation window showed the dark patch expanding, rings of light spinning faster. Then it happened. A tear in space, a jagged hole opening like a wound. Light poured. From it, not bright but heavy, pulling at their eyes, their minds. Mira screamed, clutching her head. "It's inside me!" She fell, her body limp, eyes wide. Doc rushed to her, scanning with his med kit. "She's breathing, but her mind's somewhere else." Jax ran to the bridge, but the controls sparked, burning his hands. "It's fighting us," he yelled. The ship lurched, tilting toward the hole. Elias grabbed the railing, seeing his reflection in the window. His wife's face flickered over his, her eyes black, whispering, "Come to me." The Iker crew panicked. Taz, the cook, dropped to his knees, muttering prayers. Lila, another crewman, stared at the tear, her face blank, as if drawn to it. Elias shouted, "Stay together! Don't look at it!" But the portal called. One crewman, a quiet mechanic named Kale, walked toward the airlock, his steps slow, like a puppet. "It's home," he mumbled. Jax tackled him, pinning him down. "Snap out of it." Doc read from the journal, voice shaking. "The abyss gates lead to the void's heart. They take your soul piece by piece. The first crew saw one. Only one survived, mad, raving about the other side." Elias's heart pounded. "How do we close it?" Doc hesitated. "It doesn't say, but they use something physical. Ropes. Chains. To pull back." The ship groaned, metal bending. The portal grew, its light now a storm of colors, purple, green, black. Shadows moved inside it, not human, but vast, with eyes like dying stars. They reached, their touch cold through. The hull, Mira woke, gasping. "I saw it," she said. "The other side. It's alive. It wants us." Elias helped her up, his burned hand stinging. "What did it show you?" "Us," she whispered. "Falling forever. But there's a way out. We have to go through." The crew gasped, voices rising. "Go through?" Jax snapped. "That's suicide." But Mira's eyes were fierce. "Not all the way. Just enough to trick it. Like diving into water and swimming back." Elias remembered the alien sea from Chapter 1, how touching it broke the first curse. "She's right," he said. "We face it, or it takes us." They rigged ropes, tying themselves to the ship's core. Jack strengthened the backup engine, its hum weak but steady. Elias took the helm, steering toward the portal. The crew held their breath, ropes tight around their waists. The ship shook, alarms screaming as they crossed the edge. Inside the portal, the world twisted. The bridge became a maze, walls bending, floors rippling. The crew saw their fears. Mira's burning home, Jax's collapsing mine, Elias is drowning. Wife. But these were solid, claws and flames reaching. Elias swung a pipe, shattering a vision of his wife. "Keep moving!" he shouted. The ropes held, guiding them back. But the shadows fought, their eyes glowing. One grabbed Lila, pulling her toward a deeper dark. Taz cut her rope, freeing her, but his own snapped. He fell, screaming, into the abyss. The crew froze, horror gripping them. "Keep going!" Elias yelled, pulling Mira and Jax. The ropes burned, fraying, but they held. The ship groaned, her hull bending like paper. The portal's light dimmed, the shadows weakening. They burst out, the portal collapsing behind. The ship spun, stars steady again. The crew collapsed, panting, ropes tangled. Taz was gone, his loss a knife in their hearts. Mira checked her screens. "We're clear. The patch is gone." Doc clutched the journal, tears in his eyes. "We lost him. The void took its price." Elias stood, his voice hoarse. "We honor him by going on." But the ship felt emptier. The mess hall table had new scratches. One taken. The crew stared, silent, the words burning into their minds. The air grew cold. The hum from the engines, now quiet, replaced by a faint whisper like Taz's voice, lost in the dark. That night, Elias stood on the bridge, the stars calm but cold. In his dreams, the portal returned, showing Taz falling, his eyes pleading. "You let me go," he said. But it was the void's voice. The crew worked in silence, repairing the hull. Jax patched the engine, his arm still bandaged, his face grim. "It's not over, is it?" he asked. Elias shook his head. The void's still hungry. Mira found a note in the hidden room, tucked in the first crew's book. It read, "The abyss gates never close for good. They wait." She showed Elias, her hands trembling. "What's next?" He didn't answer, but his burned hand clenched. The ship sailed on, her hull scarred, her crew broken but defiant. The Gothic dread thickened, the cosmic horror lurking in the stars. The portal was gone, but its echo remained, whispering of more to come. Chapter 9. Echoes from the Black Hole. The Elysium drifted on, her hull battered from the abyss portal's grip, her crew shaken by the loss of Taz. The mess hall tables, scratches, one taken, stared up like a wound that wouldn't heal. The ship that never touched water had faced ghosts, curses, nightmares, and gates to nowhere, but each fight left them weaker, the void's shadow closer. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his gray beard damp with sweat, his burned hand aching. The stars outside were dim, overshadowed by a new threat. A black hole, its edges glowing faintly, pulling light into its maw. It hummed, a low, mournful sound that shook the bones. Mira, the young navigator, sat at her station, her red hair tangled, her green eyes wide. "Captain," she said, voice barely above a whisper, "it's pulling us. The charts are warping. It's like time's breaking again." Elias checked her screen. The display showed spirals, not stars, twisting toward the black hole's heart. "Jax, engine status?" he called over the comms. Jax's voice came rough, his bandaged arm slowing him. "Backup's struggling, Cap. That portal fried half our systems. We're barely holding." Doc Harlan shuffled in, clutching the first crew's journal, its pages worn thin. "The logs mention this," he said, his glasses slipping. "A black hole they called the Echo. It doesn't just pull ships, it pulls time. Shows you your past, your mistakes, to trap you." Elias's heart sank. His past was heavy. His wife's drowning, his family's curse, Taz's fall. The ship groaned, as if sharing his dread. "Can we break free?" he asked. Mira shook her head. "It's too strong. We're caught unless we find a way to push back." The crew gathered in the mess hall, the air cold and thick. The table's scratches glowed faintly, new words forming beside, one taken, Echo's call. The crew stared, fear tightening their faces. Elias spoke, his voice steady but strained. "We've fought the void before. We'll fight this. Mira, look for a way out. Jax, get that engine stronger." But as they moved, The black hole's hum grew louder, shaking the hull. Lights flickered, casting shadows that moved wrong, like ripples in water. Then the echoes began. Mira saw it first. Her station flickered, showing her as a girl, standing by a river, her mother waving. But the water turned black, swallowing her mother whole. Mira gasped, tears falling. "It's my fault," she whispered, though she knew it wasn't true. Jax, in the engine room, saw his brother, crushed in the mine collapse years ago. The walls shimmered, turning to stone, his brother's voice pleading, "You left me." Jax swung his wrench, hitting air, his bandaged arm bleeding again. Elias saw his wife, always her, standing on the bridge, her dress dripping. "You sailed away," she said, her voice sharp. "You let me drown." He clenched his fists, his burned hand throbbing, knowing it was a lie but feeling the guilt. The crew huddled, voices trembling. Lila, a crewman, saw her sister, lost to sickness, coughing in the halls. "She blames me," Lila sobbed. Another crewman, Cale, saw himself, younger, abandoning his family for space. "I shouldn't have left," he muttered. Doc clutched the journal, reading fast. "The echo shows your regrets. It twists time, makes you live them again. If you believe the lies, it pulls you in." Elias's mind raced. The ship that never touched water had stirred the void's wrath, and now it used their pasts against them. "We fight it," he said. "Name the truth. Break the echo." Mira tried first, her voice shaking. "My mother died in a fire, not a river. I was a kid. I couldn't save her." The image on her screen faded, the hum softening slightly. Jax went next, his face grim. "My brother died in the mine. I tried to reach him. It wasn't my fault." The stone walls vanished, his wrench steady in his hand. One by one, the crew spoke their truths. Lila named her sister's sickness, Cale his choice to leave. The echoes weakened, the hum quieter. But Elias hesitated. His wife's face was too real, her words too heavy. "You left me," she repeated, her eyes black as the hole. The ship lurched, closer to the black hole. Alarms screamed, systems sparking. The hull groaned, metal bending. The observation window showed the hole's edge, a ring of light twisting like a snake. Shadows moved inside, not human but vast, with voices that whispered, "Stay." Elias called the crew to the bridge. "We need more power. Jax, can you boost the engine?" Jax nodded, running to the engine room. But the backup engine sputtered, weak from the portal fight. "It's dying, Cap," he shouted. Mira found a note in the hidden room, tucked in the first crew's book. It read, "The echo traps with truth and lies offer a memory to escape." She showed Elias, her hands trembling. "What does that mean?" Doc frowned. "A sacrifice. Something real. Something you cherish." Elias's heart froze. His cherished memory was his wife, their last day together, walking by a lake. Her laugh, bright. He couldn't give that up. But the ship was slipping, the black hole's pull stronger. "We do it together," he said. "Each of us gives something." The crew gathered in the engine room, the backup engine flickering. They spoke memories aloud, offering them to the void. Mira gave her mother's smile, Jax his brother's laugh, Lila her sister's hug. Each word weakened the hum, the ship steadying. Elias went last, his voice breaking. "My wife laughing by the lake, I let it go." The image of her faded, the pain sharp but freeing. The black hole's pull eased, the ship drifting back, but the echoes fought. A shadow rose from the engine, a mix of their pasts, Mira's mother, Jax's brother, Elias's wife. It spoke, voice like grinding stone. "You can't leave us." Elias faced it, his burned hand clenched. "We already did." The crew shouted their truths again, the shadow shrinking. Jax boosted the engine, sparks flying. The ship surged, breaking free from the black hole's grip. The stars returned, bright and steady. The crew collapsed, panting, tears in their eyes. Mira checked her screens. "We're clear. The hole's behind us." Doc clutched the journal, his face pale. We paid a price, our memories. Elias nodded, his heart heavy. But we're alive. That night, the mess hall table had new scratches. Pass taken. The crew stared, silent, the words a scar. The air grew cold, the hum from the black hole gone but replaced by whispers like Taz's voice, lost in the abyss. Elias stood on the bridge, the stars calm but distant. In his dreams, the black hole returned, showing his wife, her face soft, but sad. You gave me up, she said, but it was the void's voice. The crew worked in silence, repairing the engine. Jax patched the systems, his bandaged arm slower. It's not done, is it? He asked. Elias shook his head. The void keeps coming. Mira found another note in the hidden room. The echo never forgets. It waits. Her voice trembled as she read it. What's next? Elias didn't answer, but his burned hand ached. The ship sailed on, her hull scarred, her crew broken but defiant. The Gothic dread clung like mist, the cosmic horror lurking in the stars ahead. Chapter 10. The Unseen. Passenger. The Elysium sailed wearily through the void, her hull scarred from the black hole's echoes, her crew drained from giving up cherished memories to escape. The mess hall table's scratches, past taken, stung like an open wound, a reminder of the void's relentless hunger. The ship that never touched water had faced ghosts, curses, nightmares, portals, and time-twisting holes, but each fight left them more fragile, the darkness closer. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his gray beard matted with sweat, his burned hand throbbing like a warning. The stars outside were steady, but a faint chill ran through the ship, as if something unseen walked her halls. Mira, the young navigator, sat at her station, her red hair loose, her green eyes darting nervously. Captain, she said, voice, the charts are clear, but I feel something, like we're not alone. Elias nodded, his gut twisting. He'd felt it too, a presence, not the ghosts of the first crew or the echoes of the black hole, but something new, sly, hiding. Jax, anything off in the engine room? He called over the comms. Jax's voice crackled, rough and tired, his bandaged arm still slowing him. Engines are stable, Cap, but the air's heavy, like something's watching. Doc Harlan shuffled in, clutching the tattered journal of the first crew. I found a warning, he said, his glasses slipping. The logs talk of a stowaway. Not human, not ghost, something from the void that slips aboard when you cross its gates. It feeds on fear, grows stronger with every scare. Elias's heart sank. Doc's eyes were grim. To stay, to live through us. The crew gathered in the mess hall, the air cold and thick. The table's scratches glowed faintly, new words forming beside, past taken. It walks. The crew stared, fear tightening their throats. Elias spoke, his voice steady but heavy. We've got something on board. We find it, we stop it. Mira scanned the ship. Jax checked the systems. But as they moved, the presence grew bolder. Lights flickered, casting shadows that seemed to linger too long. Footsteps echoed in empty halls, too soft to be human. Mira's screens glitched, showing glimpses of a shape, tall, thin, with eyes. Like oil slicks. She gasped, shutting them off. It's in the system, she whispered. Jax in the engine room heard whispers behind him, not the void's hum but a voice, hissing his name. He spun, wrench raised, but saw nothing. His tools moved, sliding across the floor when he looked away. This ain't right, he muttered, his laugh long gone. Elias felt it most. In his cabin, his mirror showed not his face but a shadow, its form shifting, sometimes his wife, sometimes Taz, lost to the portal. You brought me, it whispered, voice like wind over bones. He smashed the mirror, glass shattering, but the voice laughed. The crew's fear fed it. Lila, a crewman, screamed in the night, saying something touched her face, cold and slick. Kale, the mechanic, found his tools arranged in a circle, a symbol like the ones in the hidden room. The ship groaned, her hull creaking as if weighed down by an unseen load. Doc called a meeting, his hands shaking. The stowaway's growing. Our fear makes it strong. The logs say it hides in plain sight, in shadows, in reflections. We have to trap it. How? Mira asked, her voice small. Doc read from the journal. It hates what's solid. Something real. Something touched by life. The first crew used a vessel, a bottle, a box, to lock it away. Elias remembered the alien water from Chapter 1, still stored in sealed canisters. The water, he said. It broke the curse, tamed the engines. Maybe it can hold this thing. The crew agreed, but fear clung to them. The presence grew stronger, lights dimming to a sickly yellow. Footsteps echoed louder, now in rhythm, like a march. Mira's screens showed the shape clearer, tall, with limbs too long, eyes that burned into her soul. She screamed, collapsing. Doc revived her, but her hands shook. It knows me, she said. It knows my fears. Jax found his tools twisted into shapes, like hands reaching. He threw them into a corner, cursing. It's playing with us. Elias saw it in the halls, a shadow that moved when he blinked, always just out of reach. It whispered his wife's words. You left me. But now it added, I'm here now. The ship lurched, systems sparking. Alarms blared, the hull trembling. The presence was in the air, heavy, suffocating. The crew gathered in the engine room, clutching canisters of the purple water. Jax rigged a trap, a metal box lined with salt crystals from Chapter 2, filled with the water. If it's solid, it'll hold, he said, his voice grim. Mira set up sensors, tracking the shape. It moved fast, slipping through walls, but the sensors caught its trail, a cold spot, like a void in the ship's heat. It's heading for the bridge, she said. They ran, the box heavy in Elias's hands. The bridge was dark, the air thick with a stench like rotting stars. The shape stood by the controls, its eyes glowing, its form shifting. Now Mira's mother, now Jax's brother, now Elias's wife. You can't stop me, it hissed, voice a chorus of their fears. Elias held the box, his burned hand steady. You don't belong here. He opened it, the water glowing purple, the salt sparkling. The shape screamed, a sound that shook the hull, and lunged. The crew threw salt, forcing it back. Elias swung the box, catching the shape like a net. It thrashed, its eyes burning, but the water pulled it in, the salt sealing it. The box slammed shut, the hum dying. Lights flared, system stabilizing. The ship steadied, her hull quiet. The crew collapsed, panting, fear draining from their faces. Mira checked her screens, clear, no cold spots. It's gone, she whispered. Jax clutched his bandaged arm, his face pale. That thing was alive. It hated us. Doc nodded, holding the journal. The logs say it'll come back if we let fear grow. We have to stay strong. Elias locked the box in the hidden room, its glow dim but alive. The water, inside swirled, the shape trapped, its eyes faint but watching. Stay there, he muttered. That night the mess hall table had new scratches. It waits. The crew stared, silent, the words a cold knife. The air felt lighter, but a chill lingered, like the presence's echo. Elias stood on the bridge, the stars calm but distant. In his dreams the shape returned, trapped in the box but whispering, I see you. It wore his wife's face, then Taz's, then nothing at all. The crew worked in silence, repairing the systems. Jax patched the controls, his laugh still missing. It's not over, is it? He asked. Elias shook his head. The void keeps sending. Mira found a note in the hidden room, tucked in the first crew's book. The stowaway never leaves. It waits for weakness. Her voice trembled as she read it. What's next? Elias didn't answer. His burned hand clenched. The ship sailed on, her hull scarred, her crew weary but defiant. The Gothic dread hung heavy, the cosmic horror lurking in the stars ahead. Chapter 11. Fractured realities. The Elysium sailed on, her hull battered from battles with ghosts, curses, nightmares, portals, black holes, and the unseen passenger now trapped in a water-filled box. The crew was worn thin, their eyes hollow. their spirits frayed. The mess hall table's scratches, "It waits," loomed like a scar, a reminder that the void's grip never truly loosened. The ship that never touched water carried the weight of its trials, each victory tainted by loss. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his gray beard streaked with grime, his burned hand pulsing with pain. The stars outside flickered, not with light, but with something else, as if reality itself was stuttering. Mira, the young navigator, hunched over her station, her red hair tangled, her green eyes darting. "Captain," she said, her voice tight, "the charts are breaking. Stars are doubling, like they're in two places at once." Elias checked her screen. The display showed the same star field but split, two versions overlapping, one bright, one dim, edges blurring. "Jax, anything wrong with the sensors?" he called over the comms. Jax's voice crackled, rough and strained, his bandaged arm slowing his work. "Sensors are fine, Cap, but the engine's acting up. It's like it's pulling two ways at once." Doc Harlan shuffled in, clutching the first crew's journal, its pages crumbling. "This is bad," he said, his glasses fogged. "The logs mention fractures, places where space splits, showing different realities. The first crew hit one, half went mad, seeing worlds that weren't theirs." Elias's heart sank. The ship had faced the void's tricks before, but this felt deeper, like the universe itself was unraveling. "Can we avoid it?" he asked. Mira shook her head. "We're already in it. The ship's flickering." The crew gathered in the mess hall, the air heavy, lights buzzing. The table's scratches glowed faintly, new words forming beside "It waits," "World splits." The crew stared, fear choking their breaths. Elias spoke, his voice steady but heavy. "Something's breaking reality. We stay sharp, keep together." But as they moved, the fractures grew. The ship shimmered, halls bending, walls rippling, like water. Mira walked to her station, but the bridge doubled. A second version appeared, dimmer with the shadowy Mira sitting there, plotting a course to a burning planet. She gasped, stumbling back. "That's not me." Jax, in the engine room, saw two engines, one humming, one dead, covered in rust. He reached for a wrench, but his hand passed through it, then grabbed another, solid but cold. "What the hell?" he muttered, his bandaged arm aching. Elias saw his wife, not as a ghost but alive, standing on a bridge that wasn't his, smiling with a crew he didn't know. "Come home," she said, her voice warm but wrong. He blinked, and she was gone, the real bridge cold and dim. The crew's fears spilled out. Lila, a crewman, saw herself in a fractured hall, older, alone, her sister alive beside her. "She's back," Lila whispered, tears falling. Cale, the mechanic, saw a world where he never left his family, their faces happy but fading when he reached out. Doc clutched the journal, reading fast. "The fractures show what could have been. Other lives, other choices. If you chase them, you get lost, stuck in a world that's not real." Elias's mind raced. The ship that never touched water had stirred the void's wrath, and now it broke the world around them. "We stay in this reality," he said. "Focus on what's real." But the fractures fought back. The ship shook, alarms blaring, lights split into rainbows, walls showing glimpses of other Elysians, some burning, some adrift, some with crews laughing, others screaming. Mira saw herself as a captain, older, her hair gray, leading a doomed ship into a star. She screamed, clutching Elias. "I don't want that." Jack saw a world where his brother lived, both of them fixing engines, laughing. He reached for it, but the floor cracked, pulling him back. "It's a lie," he growled, his voice breaking. Elias saw his wife again, not drowning but alive, holding his hand. "Stay," she whispered. He wanted to, but her eyes flickered, turning black like the void. He turned away, his burned hand burning hotter. The crew gathered, holding on to each other, the ship splitting around them. The mess hall showed two tables, one with Taz, alive, cooking, the other empty, scratched with world splits. Lila ran toward Taz, but Elias grabbed her. "It's not him. Stay here." Doc read from the journal. "The first crew escaped by anchoring to their reality. They used something solid, something shared." Mira clutched the salt crystals from Chapter 2, still glowing faintly. "These. They stopped the ghosts, held the passenger. Maybe they keep us here." They spread the salt in a circle, the crystals sparkling. The fractures slowed, the ship steadying, but the void pushed back. A crack opened in the bridge, a jagged tear showing a world where the Elysium was whole, her crew happy, no void to fear. The pull was strong, tempting. Mira stepped toward it, her mother's face smiling from the other side. "She's there," she whispered. Elias pulled her back, his voice firm. "She's gone. This is our world." Jack saw his brother again, waving. He clenched his fists, staying put. "Not real," he muttered. Elias faced his wife's image, her smile soft. "I let you go," he said, his voice breaking. The tears shrank, the salt glowing brighter, but the fractures fought. A shadow rose from the crack, a mix of their other selves, Mira as a doomed captain, Jax's brother, Elias's wife. It spoke, voice like shattered glass. "Choose us. Be free." Elias held the salt, his burned hand steady. "We choose this." He threw the crystals into the crack, the light flaring. The shadow screamed, the tear closing. The ship lurched, reality snapping back. The hulls were solid, the bridge won again. The crew collapsed, panting, the salt scattered but glowing. Mira checked her screens. Clear, one starfield. "We're back," she whispered. Doc clutched the journal, his face pale. "We lost pieces of ourselves. Those other worlds, they took something." Elias nodded, his heart heavy. He felt emptier, his wife's memory fainter. "But we're here." That night, the mess hall table had new scratches. Reality won. The crew stared, silent, the words a fragile victory. The air felt lighter, but a hum lingered, like the void's laugh. Elias stood on the bridge, the stars steady but cold. In his dreams, the fractures returned, showing his wife happy, then fading into black. "You chose wrong," she said, but it was the void's voice. The crew worked in silence, repairing the hull. Jax patched the systems, his bandaged arm slower. "It's not done, is it?" he asked. Elias shook his head. The void's still out there. Mira found a note in the hidden room, tucked in the first crew's book. "Fractures break the mind. Hold what's real or lose all." Her voice trembled as she read it. "What's next?" Elias didn't answer, his burned hand clenched. The ship sailed on, her hull scarred, her crew broken but defiant. The Gothic dread clung like fog, the cosmic horror waiting in the stars ahead. Chapter 12. The final anchor, the Elysium, drifted. Through the void, her hull scarred from battles with ghosts, curses, nightmares, portals, black holes, unseen passengers, and fractured realities. The crew was a shadow of itself, their faces etched with loss. Taz gone, memories sacrificed, spirits worn thin. The mess hall table's scratches, reality won, offered a hollow victory, the void's presence still clinging like damp air. The ship that never touched water had fought the cosmos itself, but each triumph felt like a step closer to breaking. Captain Elias Thorne stood on the bridge, his gray beard matted, his burned hand a constant ache. The stars outside were faint, but a single point of light pulsed ahead, white and steady, like a beacon or a trap. Mira, the young navigator, sat at her station, her red hair dull, her green eyes tired but sharp. "Captain," she said, voice low, "that light, it's not a star. It's something else. The charts call it an anchor point, like it holds space together." Elias checked her screen. The display showed a glowing orb, not spinning but fixed, with faint threads of light stretching into the dark, like roots. "Jax, what's the engine saying?" he called over the comms. Jax's voice crackled, rough and weary, his bandaged arm slowing his work. "Backup's holding, Cap, but it's weak. That light's pulling us, gentle but strong, like it wants us there." Doc Harlan shuffled in, clutching the first crew's journal, its pages nearly dust. "This is it," he said, his glasses fogged. "The logs call it the final anchor, the void's heart, where all its traps lead. The first crew saw it. Only one made it back, raving about a choice." "What choice?" Elias asked, his gut twisting. Doc's eyes were grim. "To stay or go. The anchor offers a way out, but it demands everything." The crew gathered in the mess hall, the air cold, lights flickering. The table's scratches glowed faintly, new words forming beside Reality 1. "Anchor calls." The crew stared, fear choking their breaths. Elias spoke, his voice steady but heavy. "This is the end game. The void's been pushing us. Here, ghosts, curses, all of it. We face this, or it takes us." Mira's hands shook. "What if we can't?" "We will," Elias said, though doubt gnawed at him. The ship that never touched water had stirred the void's wrath, and now it called them to its core. As they neared the anchor point, the ship trembled, the hum from Chapter 9's black hole, returning, softer but deeper. The orb grew larger, its light blinding, threads pulsing like veins. The hull groaned, metal bending. Lights dimmed to a ghostly white, and the air grew thick, like breathing water. Then it began. Visions, not of the past, but of the future. Mira saw the Elysium whole, landing on a green world, her crew laughing. But the image shifted, the ship crumbling, the crew dust. She gasped, clutching her station. "It's showing me everything," she whispered. Jax, in the engine room, saw himself old fixing a new ship, then saw it explode, his hands burned to bone. He cursed, dropping his wrench, his bandaged arm throbbing. "It's playing tricks again." Elias saw his wife not drowning but alive, waiting on a shore. Then she turned to ash, the shore a void. "You can't win," she said, her voice the void's. He clenched his burned hand, fighting the vision. Doc read from the journal, his hands shaking. "The anchor tests you, shows what you want, what you fear. Pass the test, and you're free. Fail, and you're its forever." Elias's mind raced. The void had used their fears before. Ghosts, echoes, fractures. This was its final play. "We fight it," he said. "We choose our reality, not its lies." But the anchor's pull grew. The ship shook, systems sparking. Alarms blared, the orb filling the observation window, its light burning their eyes. Threads reached out, wrapping the hull, tugging like ropes. The ship groaned as if pleading. Mira found a note in the hidden room, tucked in the first crew's book. "The anchor demands a heart. Give it truth, or it takes all." She showed Elias, her voice trembling. "What's that mean?" Doc frowned. "A sacrifice. Not blood, not memories. Truth. What you are." The crew gathered on the bridge, the orb's light blinding. The threads tightened, pulling the ship closer. Shadows moved in the light, not human but vast, with eyes like stars. They whispered, "Choose." Elias felt the weight of every fight, his wife's loss, Taz's fall, the crew's pain. He stepped forward, facing the orb. "I'm Elias Thorne. I failed my wife, but I won't fail my crew. Take me, not them." The light flared, the threads snapping at him. Mira screamed, "No." She grabbed his arm, pulling him back. "We do this together." Jax nodded, his face grim. "I'm Jax. I lost my brother, but I'm here, fighting." His voice steadied the ship, the threads loosening. Mira spoke, her eyes wet. "I'm Mira. My mother's gone, but I navigate for us." The light dimmed, the shadows retreating. One by one, the crew spoke their truths. Lila her guilt, Kale his regrets. The threads weakened, the orb's pull fading. But the shadows fought, forming a shape. The void's heart, a mass of eyes and claws. It roared, shaking the hull, its voice a chorus of their fears. "You're nothing." Elias held up the salt crystals from Chapter 2, glowing faintly. "We're enough." He threw them into the light, the crystals flaring. The shape screamed, dissolving, the threads snapping. The ship surged, breaking free. The orb shrank, its light fading. The stars returned, bright and steady. The crew collapsed, panting, tears mixing with relief. Mira checked her screens. Clear, no pull. "We're out," she whispered. Doc clutched the journal, his face pale. "We gave our truths. It let us go." Elias nodded, his heart heavy. But it took something. He felt emptier, his wife's face fainter than ever. That night the mess hall table had new scratches. Truth given. The crew stared, silent, the words a bittersweet mark. The air felt lighter, but a hum lingered, like the void's sigh. Elias stood on the bridge, the stars calm but distant. In his dreams, the anchor returned, showing his wife, her smile gone. "You won," she said, but it was the void's voice. For now, the crew worked in silence, repairing the hull. Jax patched the engine, his bandaged arm steady. "It's done, right?" he asked. Elias shook his head. "The void's still out there." Mira found a final note in the hidden room. "The anchor frees, but the void waits." Her voice broke as she read it. "Is it ever over?" Elias looked at the stars, his burned hand clenched. The ship sailed on, her hull scarred, her crew broken but whole. The Gothic dread faded, the cosmic horror quiet. For now, the Elysium, touched by water, had found its anchor, but the void's shadow lingered, promising one last fight.